focus on Liberia. Hit it. From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Yeah, focus on Liberia. For Liberia, Liberia. For Liberia, yeah, 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 yeah. From Monday to Sunday. From Monday to Sunday. It's focus on Liberia. Talk about home affairs. Hey. In diaspora. Current affairs. Reliable information. History. Ooh. Talking about culture. Politics. Education. Entertainment. Business. Sports. Advertisement. Articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday. Focus on.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Focus on Liberia. It's Election Day in Nimba County. My name is Dennis Jai, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. We also have our reporter in Ganta and observers in Monrovia and Ganta, bringing you live Election Day activities in Nimba County. Let me welcome those with us tonight. Let me first introduce Mr. Malcolm Joseph, who is joining us from the city of Ganta. Malcolm is the chairman of the ECC. That's Malcolm. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure being on your show.
And we are excited to have you. Just for 30 seconds, little something about yourself.
Well, it's a difficult thing for me.
Okay,
anyway, the name is mentioned already, Malcolm Joseph. I'm a journalist by profession. I currently work in media development. I run the Center for Media Studies and Peace Building, where we train journalists, we do media research, and do advocacy around freedom of expression issues. I lecture mass communication on a part-time basis at two universities in Liberia. And of course, I'm a sports personality too. I'm vice president of the Liberian National Olympic Committee. I think that's sufficient for now.
Thank you. Thank you. And the election coordinating committee, correct?
Of course. Yeah, you announced that already. So
all right. Let me also welcome Dr. Christopher Weto the First. He is Secretary General of the Liberal Council of Churches, and they're also involved in monitoring the elections in Nimba. Welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you very much. It's a pleasure also being on your show.
Thank you. Joining us by phone is our reporter, Sir Augustine Mabayo, who is joining us from Ghana. Sir, Issa.
I don't speak easy anyway. Thank you so much.
Let me also welcome Dr. Male, who is joining us from Providence, Rhode Island. Welcome, Dr. Male.
Oh, thank you. And my greeting to fellow co-panelists.
Thank you. Last but not the least is Mr. Jimmy Eastman, our man from the nation's capital, Washington, D.C. Welcome, sir.
Hey, gentlemen, I'm glad to be here with you. I look forward to an interesting discussion about the analytics of the Nimba election. It looks like it's bound to be good.
Bound to be good. Those are the words. Let me first hear from our reporter. He's been in Nimba for a week. He went back to Monrovia to refresh and went back to Nimba to cover the election. Sir, tell us briefly, what went down today in Nimba County. And you were there before during the campaign, and you are there today. What are some of the things you want to tell us that happened today? And what are all the places you've been?
Thank you so much. To the Nimba County, especially the citizens of Nimba, made history conducting a peaceful election in Nimba County. So today we visited several places from Kanta, Saklipi Road to Kampli, Sanikuli, as far as Lokato border to conduct interviews with voters at favorable polling places. So today it was actually hectic, but again, the people of Nimba County did extremely well by conducting a very peaceful election.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me hear from Mr. Malcolm Joseph, who's joining us from Kanta. I know I don't even know where to start, but give us a clip of what Nimba County looks like today.
Well, Nimba, from the areas I visited today, remain calm. The election process went very smoothly and it was peaceful. The turnout, I could say, was slow. I'm unable at this point in time to say the turnout was low. What I can say on the basis of my observation today is that the turnout was slow. So maybe before the end of the day, we'll be able to determine whether it was a low turnout or not. But generally, the election was conducted in a peaceful atmosphere. There aren't any critical incident, serious issue, which we consider electioneering as critical incidents reported so far. But it does not mean that nothing critical happened, because as I speak to you, our data room is still functioning. Our data clerks are still at work, gathering information from around the county from our observers that we deploy. So maybe by the dawn of the day tomorrow, we might be able to establish if there are any critical incidents that are worth reporting. Then it will be contained in our election observation press conference that will be held tomorrow. So generally, I think there was one incident that came up that drew our attention. In fact, it took place right here in Kansas City, where one of the candidates claimed that his party agent was denied entering the room after polling had closed. But then the situation was that the NEC officials were saying that the law states that when the polls are closed, no one enters the room besides the election observers.
Yeah, Mr. Joseph, we'll get to those issues, but has Chairman of ECC, what specifically is your group involved in Nimba today? What were some of the activities?
Basically, ECC is about elections. We work on just election. So with a specific emphasis on election observation. So that is exactly what we have been doing. We deployed a little over 100 observers throughout Nimba, and we set up a situation room at the local hotel here in Nimba County, where our data clerk are currently stationed and receiving real-time information from our observers around the county.
And what are you observing for? What are you watching for?
Basically, we are focusing on the procedure of the elections, trying to look out whether, for example, polls open on time, or whether there were sufficient election materials, whether the election staff conducted themselves in a way and manner they should, whether there was security present, and whether looking at the gender issue in terms of the poll workers, whether party agents were present, and the general atmosphere around the elections.
Thank you. Let me go to Dr. To. Dr. To from the LACC. Let me tell our audience some of your activities today. What were you doing?
Oh, thank you very much. We had an opportunity to be in several districts today in Nimba County. We were in Senatorial, we were in a part of Saclipie and that of Ganta. And our team mostly was a mobile and a less stationary team. And we moved from at various centers. We had 2 mobile teams that were moving, and we have few persons at station at few police centers. And what we really observed today, we saw that the atmosphere was calm. There was some little incitement in one area around the LPMC. There's a police center there where the fellow came. I posted on Facebook that there was people were denied, and our movement into that area gave a clever picture. And from our interview with all the party agents and all those even people within the vicinity that were around, nothing of that happened in the area. So he posted fake news on the social media, of which we were able to speak to the press on that also. But on the average, the atmosphere was calm. The voting process was slow, and I can say also from my observation, it was not only just slow, but I think the voting appetite was not high. We had opportunity to visit some communities and try to talk to even some people to go to the centers to go and vote, ask them whether they have voted. And some said they were not going to vote because the political leaders were all the same. And so they just need their vote, for their own personal gain. And so we're encouraging them that their vote is very important, and that the vote counts in terms of nation building and nation development. But the voter appetite, I think, it was very low, and so the turnout also was not encouraging as expected. In some centers where you have over 510 person registered, you had about 150 or to 200 person voting. And we were able to, start from the beginning and go to the end and find out that some of the booklets that were there, sometimes only in some area, only 1 or 2 booklets, 3 booklets were used. So, the booklets have like 50 ballots on each booklet. So I could say on the average, the turnout was low. It was low, although it was slow also, but it was low. But the most important thing is that it was peaceful, and I was not in every part of Nimba County, but for all those areas that we visited, the atmosphere was very calm.
Thank you. And before I bring in the rest of the panelists, what I want to ask, starting with our reporter Augustine, and then you, Mr. Joseph, elections, things that happen in elections do not necessarily happen on election day. So before the elections, were there some things that will affect the outcome that you observe? Like, for instance, there are election laws, and we've seen on camera people like actively dividing money on voters, or people are fighting, or anything else. Let me start with you, sir. Did you observe anything that that could affect the outcome of the election even prior to today?
Absolutely not. Like we will say yes, maybe, or something like that. Like for the MDR candidate, Honorable Samuel Koga, prior to the election, he was distributing several money to residents across Nimba County. We expected a huge turnout, but from the outcome of whatever he campaigns during the campaign period did not materialize during the election. And again, at the launch of Madam Ide Konglo, where we witnessed a massive turnout during the campaign launch, but on election day, we saw a poor turnout. So maybe there was something else. Basically, there were several complaints from few of the centers we visited. Those who refused to vote there complained about job. The National Election Commission, they said that NEC selected their own people, living citizens of Nimba County, out of the entire election process by bringing in their own pooling or staffers to conduct the election. That sense some sense of division among Libanese, among them in their own counties.
Thank you.
That led.
Thank you. Malcolm, same question. Anything that will, before election, because sometimes these things happen prior to election. Did the EC observe anything of that nature?
Well, you are quite correct. In modern electioneering processes, the raking of election in most time it takes place before the election. And there are so many ways those who want to rig election can rig election before voting day. But we we had some observers on the field prior to today, observing the campaign and what have you. But besides what all of us you saw, and we also noticed on the social media with the distribution of cash or what have you, none of our observers reported any incident of such nature. So, as a credible election observation group, we don't just pick issue from social media once they have not been verified by our observers we have on the field. So I can't speak to that. It's just what all of us saw on the social media. But the election commission itself has the laws are laid out in the new election law when it comes to vote buying is a violation of the election law. So I hope that the what been circulating on the social media, the NEC itself can take another step forward to conduct whatsoever investigation and come on a finding. But from our perspective, none of our observers reported anything of such nature.
Dr. To, anything prior
Yeah.
to the
Okay.
election that could claim the attention
Yes.
of?
Sometimes, like for example, yes, we saw hate speeches. There were a lot of hate speeches from some persons during the campaign, and that was bringing up some little tension about contrary to the whole issue of the hate speech and what transpired on elections day, there was a little opposite. Now, with regard to what transpired on social media, with regard to what a distribution of funding, like Malcolm said, there's a need for investigation because in most instances, people just place things on social media, and it may not even have relationship to the particular event. It might even be a different event that was taking place, but people decide to post it this time to be able to showcase. So there's a need for investigation. Like I said today, what happened in Ghana, where this guy was there on the social media and making statement that people were denied people from voting, and it was not true. So all these things need investigation,
So,
serious investigation.
will the ECC or the LACC investigate?
No, it's the prerogative of the election commission to conduct short
Maybe
investigation.
my word wrong. Maybe fact finding. Can you do fact finding to?
Okay, the word is fact finding. Is to be
Yeah.
able to get us some information, talk to some people in the community and find out what the truth of the matter. So, like the whole issue, like Michael said, is the issue of elections commission, and if people, if there will be a complaint, then that complaint has to be investigated about what's transpired.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me give the opportunity to my team now. If you have any question for a reporter or Malcolm and Dr. Tu.
Yes,
Jimmy, let me
Dennis.
start with you, Jimmy.
Okay.
Jimmy, you are muted.
Very good, gentlemen. Our electorate is kind of young if you consider when we started having democratic processes in Liberia. It was not until the latter 2000, early 2000, when we saw a full democratic process being conducted in Liberia. But prior to that, we had a one-party system with the Truth Party, and then we had the NDPL with a military dictator calling the shots. But I want to ask you, we know that vote buying is nothing new in democracy. This thing used to be practiced in the United States, in England, and in fact, there's some famous stories about vote buying. Now, for us in our democracy, do you think that one of the characteristics of our elections, do we see a lot of vote buying? Is that what is characterizing our elections from your observations?
Yeah, if I must come in, I would say the whole issue of vote buying takes place even before elections day. And one of the young men I was in conversation with today, he said to me when I was telling him to go and vote, he was saying to me that he has his voting card, but he was not going to vote without receiving money from anybody. So it gives me the impression that also that there is a call, but even those who are the voters, encouraging people to give them money so that they can be able to vote for them. So the whole idea of poverty, is eroding in our country, eroding in the society, and things are very tough. And so people on that, because of the way in which also politicians behave when they, ascend to power. People nowadays don't, trust political powers, and so they want money before even they go and elect you. So yes, certainly vote buying sometimes take place before even elections. They do that through kinds, through cash, and through other means by carrying out some form of development in the community where this person had not done it before, but because they want to become a political leader, either a representative, a senator, a presidential candidate, or vice presidential candidate, and they go ahead carry out some development activities just to win people over.
Yeah, the second part to that question, Mr. Joseph.
Hold on, Jimmy. I want Malcolm to pick the second part, which is Is this punishable because, or is it being normalized? Has the election NEC held anyone accountable for buying votes, or is it normalized now so we don't care?
No, we cannot say it's a normal thing because it's a violation of our election law. So it's the enforcement of the law. There lies the challenge, and it's incumbent upon NEC to be able to enforce the law after conducting thorough investigation in situations like this. But like you mentioned, which Reverend Tu also alluded to. Vote buying is not strange to our democratic process. Uh, it's something that have gone on for so long. But it's a difficult thing to also investigate because in most instances, vote buying don't take place in the open. It's just that the involvement of the social media nowadays, where everyone has a smartphone, so that's how some of these things even begin to come out now. But most of the time, they don't take place in the open. So sometimes it is difficult to investigate it. But be as it may, we think that once there's a little information associated with that, the relevant authority must be able to use that information to conduct an in-depth investigation and make sure that you bring the perpetrators to book. Like you said, institutions like ours, when this kind of information come up, what we tend to do is to make sure that we verify them. If it's verified and authenticated by our observers, then we can take a position to either name or shame, draw the attention of the relevant authority to invoke the law, enforce the law that has to do with vote buying. So,
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. Mali.
Well, my question to Mr. Malcolm and Reverend Tor is that what make this election a great awakening that has captured the attention of Liberians in Liberia and even those in the diaspora? What make it a great awakening?
well, if I have to kick off, you see, Nimba County was a decider in our last election, the 2023 election. A determined who evolved as the winner. And if we are to retrospect for the past three elections, so to speak, Prince Johnson, the late Prince Johnson, who undoubtedly is was the most influential Nibalian, can speak to the fact that every presidential candidate he supported emerged victorious from the 2005 to 2011 and 2017 and then the 2023. And then we know that Nimba is the second most populous county in Liberia. So every political actor look up to Nimba County. So the fact that such an influential personality passed on and his replacement is being sought makes it a very, very critical situation. So it has attracted the attention and interest of every Liberian as to who succeed such an influential or quote unquote, as they may refer to it, a hero of Nimba County. So it has attracted everyone, even not just Liberian, but our international partners. Even as I speak to you, the ambassador of the European Union has been here for like 2 days now. She stay here. The French ambassador is also here. There are a couple of diplomats, international partners that are still in Nimba County following this. So I think it's crucial and critical because of the personality that is being that Nibalians are trying to replace.
Thank you, Dr. George. George, you can come up with your question before Mr. Dr. To coming. Dr. Williams. All right, let me go to Gabriel while we wait for the professor.
Well, it's good, Dennis. Thank you. It's good to be here. I know I came in on the probably later during this discussion, but I have a question for all of you, and I think some of you brilliantly talked about the magnitude of this election in Nimba. What do we have the presence of the NEC in Nimba to ensure that the elections is fair? Given what we talked about, given some of the things we've talked about, I think Mr. Toad talked about the people buying votes, the poverty level, and even people engaging in some nefarious activities prior to election just to ensure that they actually win. Given that magnitude and the context to which you guys are talking about, do you think it should have been a mandate from the NEC to have somebody present at each polling station to make sure that those with voting cards are not being paid to vote, or to ensure that the election is fair, given the magnitude of Nimba in the election?
Thank you.
Yeah,
Dr.
okay.
To.
Let me just come in.
Mhm.
Let me just come in. For most of the centers I went to in Kanta and part of Sanikwele, I saw NEC officials. They were there present, and even I asked the question. So the whole NEC office is in Nimba. They say it's like, yes, it's like a vacation. So I think almost everywhere they had NEC officer around, knowing very well that this election was a critical election, owing to the fact that the godfather of Nimba County, the political godfather of Nimba County, late Prince Johnson, space has been created in terms of vacancy for the elections, and knowing very well that our conflict in our country, the 14-year civil war that we fought in our country, the originality of that conflict started from Nimba, and knowing very well also that Nimba citizens were also targeted by the former regime of Doe, and that brought a lot of problem. And Nimba been used as a base for this uprising, and where the sons and daughters of Nimba rose up to be able to come out and protect themselves. And a lot of people die in this country. Everyone feels that Nimba is very critical in terms of our peace, and so that's one of the reasons why most people, even the international community, would like to go to Nimba to make sure that Nimba is peaceful. And the Nimbarians has been, out there trying to make sure that they also prove that they are peaceful people. Remember, the late Prince Johnson said that this is a time for Nimba. I had the opportunity to visit him in his office when we were having some discussion with him based on the fact that he used his pulpit to castigate the former president George Weah, and we went to meet him. And George Weah also did the same thing at his Clone Church. And in that meeting, I remember he said that this is the time for Nimba, and his advocacy for taking up Jeremiah Cohn, which is the vice president now, and say you're going to recommend that he become a running mate. I was there listening to him that you recommend him being a running mate, and if he run, eventually President Bouaka, who's not President Bouaka, but Joseph Bouaka then was going to win the elections. And based on what he said, and it came to pass, and they did that very well. And Joseph Boakai won the elections along with Jeremiah Kuhn when Jeremiah Kuhn was chosen. So now people see Nimba County as that county with the political leader that have the choice or the opportunity to lead this country. So everyone trying to focus on Nimba. Like you see what is happening in Lofa now, but the focus now is on Nimba because of the political, like someone said, the political tension that is going on, and with regard to also the political leadership and what is happening in Nimba in terms of the development and other things like that, and the population also for Nimba. Nimba has become like a hard cake for Liberia development.
Thank you. George, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Thanks,
You have
Dennis.
a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just firstly like to thank our two brothers for turning up for us today, Malcolm and Chris. We appreciate you being on the show. Uh, I just wanted to find out, given what you guys observed, what the two of you observed from Nimba, what electoral reform opportunities uh, would you recommend given the gaps you might have observed? Because for every election, regardless of how perfect operationally uh, an election is, there's always room for reform. So, what would you both uh, suggest at this point? I know it's still premature, but just your initial thoughts. What room for electoral reform do you guys would you guys recommend at this point of the process?
Okay, let me just come in quick because I have one or two things to do. Um, with regard to, I'm looking at the whole issue of enforcement, and I may be corrected if I'm wrong, but I think there is a provision that talks against vote buying and even trucking of people. And this is what we observe in our electoral process, and we will appreciate if the NEC can enforce this and make sure that this works. Because what we observe in this election, and I tend to be corrected, but I think it's true, that a lot of people, they move people from one county to another, knowing very well that they're also the Kingsmen. Some people came from Mosorado, different counties, went to Nimba and registered in Nimba for the presidential and general elections. Now, it came to a place where now is the senatorial elections, they don't have the capacity again. They are no longer there to move those people back. And so those people cannot go back to those areas to go and vote. So I see this also as, as one of the things that caused, this is my perception, that caused this, this low turnout. Because this is something that we have observed over the period. We have talked about it, about this trucking of people, and it does not give strong representation, because if the people are in a particular county and the people in that county or in that district are not the one voting for that person, and people are being trucked and brought to those areas to register in those areas, register there, and they go and vote there for those person, and the person become representative, those person have gone back to where they have come from. They are not really representing those people. So it's something that the NEC needs to be able to look at very critically in terms of how we go about this registration process, to make sure that we don't have people being moved from one end to another for the registration process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Malcolm,
Yeah.
Hold on, Josh. We also have our reporter, Sai Gossin, on the phone. So before we come to those recommendations, I want to know exactly what's going on now. So here are the few questions I want to throw out there so we can discuss them. Some early numbers started coming out from these polling centers. What are we reading from those numbers? Already we learned that the CMC, that's the Most Ability Party, has already conceded and congratulated Koga. We also talk about the low turnout What's responsible for that, and who would the low turnout favor? Which candidate were in favor? What were some of the issues the voters were going to the voting on, and who will those issues benefit? Which candidate? So those are questions that I'm throwing out there so that we know exactly what happened. Sir, let me start with you. Do we have some early numbers, and what are those numbers suggesting?
Yes, there are several early numbers here in Kanta where I visited, and from the onset of things in Kanta, few of the polling places we visited, it did conclude where seems to be victorious from where I visited few of the polling places, just few, and we have from the YMCA bill, at least
that's in Ganta.
Yeah, just Ganta.
Were there other numbers coming from other parts of Nimba?
Yes.
Let's talk about those.
Other numbers coming from Saclay PA, District 5, District 4, that are also putting Samuel Koga in the lead.
Thank you. Mr. Malcolm, I put 2 minutes out there, so you can pick anyone.
Well, I wouldn't want to venture into the issue of who is leading or what have you. I'm an election observer, so and the observation that we are doing, we are not doing the PVT, the parallel vote tabulation. So even though our observers are picking up results, but it's just for our own records. So I don't wish to venture into discussing results and what have you. In terms of the question raised earlier, which Reverend To responded to, for me, George spoke about what area of reform we would like to recommend. For me, the issue of reform doesn't just rest with those of us who are election observers. It has been a pattern or tradition on the part of the ECC that after every election we do what we call post-election consultation, where we conduct consultations around the country for various stakeholders. They will give their own experiences and they will make their own recommendations as to how we can be able to improve upon our election process. So those recommendations are now collated, and then we use that as a proposition for reform of the elections. But be as it may, I can rightly say that the enforceability of our election law is a serious challenge that we have. We, as a country, need to begin to strategize because the laws are there, but the laws are not being enforced. That is a challenge. For example, we talk about vote buying. Vote buying is a violation. And this new phenomenon that came in that seem to be contaminating our election process is this issue of trucking, which Reverend To mentioned about. How can we be able to tackle that? Probably we need to begin to think outside of the box, how we can be able to link our voter registration with the national registry. Probably if we do that, where you will have your place of domicile all recorded. So if you are going to change, you have to go through a process. With that, probably it will help. I'm just thinking off the box. But we need to begin to seriously look at that, because it's seriously impacting upon our democratic process in this country, where we have representatives or senators representing people that they need elected simply because they may have dropped thousands of people into a particular constituency, and they win the election, those people come back. So they will be representing people that didn't vote for them. And also, these are some of the issues I think we need reform around.
Yeah, my question is the low turnout. Who would that benefit?
Well, I don't know if we benefit because we don't know. Every candidate for that matter may be looking for vote. So every candidate will wish that the electorate turn out to vote for him or her. So I don't know how the low turnout will benefit anybody. So I can say.
And Dr. Cho, what were some of the key issues that the voters were voting on? And who would those issues favor? Let me give you an example. If it is tribal balance, who will it favor? If it is gender balance, who will it favor? If it is the economy, who would that
Wouldn't
favor?
we, Dennis? Wouldn't we know if these people were being interviewed as they were waiting in line to ask them questions? There was a journalist there asking them questions to say, what are some of the things that are important to you that you're voting for? Maybe we can hear from the person we have on ground if that was something like that he did. That way we will be able to understand what are some of the concerns these people were waiting to vote for
Right.
that were important
Dr.
to
Cho
them.
was there too, so he would know. And
Okay. Yeah, there we go.
Augustine, you go first.
Yeah, the issue of favor, right? From the area of Campley where I visited, I interviewed several of the voters. Both majority of them were discussing about the travel balance, the geo setting, and the manner. A lot of them say that it's not time for the senatorial seat to be well balanced because they now have a Mano senator in president of Yantuan at the house already. So it's time for the house to be balanced. So they should be letting a Gio senator. So majority of them are voting on the basis of Samuel Koga is a Gio match from a Gio setting. Is that time for the Gio to be represented in the House of Senate?
Thank you. Dr. Cho?
I think he fell off.
It's on.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia Election Day in Nimba County. That's the Senatorial election in Nimba County. Gabriel.
Dennis, I'm perplexed, frustrated, but at the same time, this is the politics we have on the ground. Just listening to what's the guy name who just spoke to hear
Augustine.
him say that Augustine, to hear him say that people were concerned about the tribal divide
Right.
when they
Because
should be
that came from the
caring.
Geo side. So complete
Right.
that's the Geo people.
Even so, Dennis, that is not going to feed you. That is not going to make sure your county is elevated to a different level. That is not going to ensure that your family have food on the table, that you have a decent education, that you have the ability to self-actualize yourself and provide for yourself. Tribal divide, tribal balance is not going to do that for you. Again, I said this here before. At least what they're supposed to be thinking about is who is the best candidate who can elevate this county to where Prince Justin from where Prince Justin left it to the next level, economically, But I'm just it saddens me to listen to Augustine, to hear him say that this is their concern. Imagine you waiting in line to just vote for someone just because of the tribal balance. So
Yeah, but
maybe you guys can.
there are other or down or Geo people in the race. So so Koga may represent more than just tribal balance, because if there's just tribal balance, why don't you vote for Dr. Gompo, who's also Geo? But Dr. George William, are you there? If you want to come in. Okay, Dr. Mali, you go.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
No, I totally can appreciate where Malcolm is in terms of the reform issues. One of those areas of electoral reformation or reform that we need to pursue. And Malcolm is quite aware of what we've done in the past to seek opportunities, reform opportunities, and pursue those along the civil society line. So it was just to help us highlight and zero in on some of the issues that we need to begin to look at as we move towards 2029. Some of these things ought to be placed on the agenda, reform agenda for civil society to pursue. And so it's insightful to hear the team, he and Dr. Reverend Toll, speak to some of these issues. So we're happy to have them on.
Thank you. Malcolm, what are some of the factors that are going to influence the outcome of the election, as you observe?
I would also like to firstly state that I had a very hectic day, and I may want to retire
Yeah, sure.
maybe the next 5 minutes or so. Yeah. But anyway, as an election observer, we are very mindful and careful so the comments we make as it relates to the process. So I may not want to, we heard some things, I've been in Nimba for the last 3 weeks, I've been engaged with Nimba with the election process. I was here 1 or 2 weeks ago training journalists to report on the election and what have you. So I heard a lot, but as an election observer, I don't wish to state mention any of these things that I heard because it could be interpreted in a form and manner that could discredit the outcome of our observation. So I wish not to comment on that.
Thank you. So let's get your closing comment as you leave, since you are leaving out in 5 minutes.
Yes. So, like I said, generally we are appreciative to the people of Nimba County. This county has a great history of making leaders, and the manner and form in which they've conducted themselves during this process has been very welcoming. And the voting process is over, and the counting or tabulation or collation of the results are ongoing. We hope that at the end of the day, when the next shall have made the pronouncement, all of the actors will accept the result in good faith. So far as an election observation body, we see NEC seem to be conducting the process in the most transparent manner. All of the commissioners of the election commission, the 7 of them are in Nimba County. All the senior staff are here. They are doing everything in Nimba. The result will be announced here in Nimba. And so I think, according to the chair of the commission at the press conference today, which I was privileged to have attended, she announced that beginning tomorrow, I think 1 p.m., they will start announcing the results. So we look forward to it, and that at the end of the day, the people on Nimba will embrace the winner, and the losers will also embrace the process and prepare for another day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate you. Let me hear from Dr. To, if you're still around. I don't know if Dr. To wants to leave also.
Malcolm, thank you for all you do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Malcolm, for showing up.
Thanks, Johnny.
Our reporter, Sir Augustine Sir Bayo, let's get to your parting comments so we can take leave of you.
Thank you so much. Thanks to my bosses, especially you and our operation manager, for being so supportive. And like I said earlier, we pray for a peaceful ending. We pray that the citizens of Nimba County will accept any result given by the National Election Commission beginning tomorrow. And we ask that the viewer candidate will begin to think about reconciliation in the county following the results. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You've been awesome. That is very. I mean, how late is it in Liberia to stay up this late and to report? That is commendable.
12:37.
It's 12:37.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, and God bless. All right. Dr. To, anytime you can jump in anytime, and you can interrupt anytime to make your point. So Dr. Mali, let's come to the process now. From what we heard so far, what you make of what is unfolding in Nimba?
Well, first of all, we got to put a few things in context. With the issue of the election abnormalities, we have civil society institutions in Liberia. The last two presidential elections, we heard these stories. So my question, I'm sorry that Mr. Malcolm has to leave. My question now is that, what has the civil society been doing to take the election commission head on these issues? Because they keep repeating. The last two elections, it was a trucking thing all over the place. I never heard probably the civil society taking anybody to court or taking the election commission head on. These sitting are replaying again, this time in a by-election. So what is going on with the civil society institutions that are responsible for electioneering processes in Liberia? You see? But let's get back to Mr. Carter. Mr. Carter was pointing at the issue of the characteristic of the election and those who participated in it. I think Mr. Carter will agree with me that most of our voting population in Liberia, they are not manifesto oriented. Yeah. You see, and this is due to poverty and so many other factors. So the people can even vote for a role. You know the story. This is our country. You see, so people bring handouts. They're not concerned about what you're coming to do for them. In fact, you even carry them when they lie to you. This is the type of voting population we have in that country. So at the end of the day, people are now more focused on issues that will elevate them, like education, security, food security, and all these kind of things. So if I bring fuel, rice, and oil, I'm 3 times likely to get a lot of votes. You see? So you realize that between 1980, you realize that 1980 and the 5 year in between there, it was 133 years when we shut the door on this American-Congo hegemony. All right. So actual politics and the modernization of election took place in 1985. Even though there were so many things involved in there, even Jackson, though, he was a presidential candidate by then, and they succeeded to win the 2 senatorial seats in Nimba County. You see, it was not until the late Prince Johnson got into the picture after the war, and we begin to hear this so-called tribal and cultural thing associated with politics in Nimba County. Now it has even become more serious now. People are now looking at these slots at their own personal endowment, and they are entitled to it. One tribe is entitled to it, then the other tribe. You see? And when one tribe keep taking this thing all along, it's going to be a problem in Nimba County. You see? So they need to look at politics as it is, look at democracy as it is, make the deliverables, and we'll get away from the whole tribal thing and the whole cultural thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Dr. William, I asked a question, if you are there, that the low turnout, who you think is going to benefit? I mean, who needs enthusiasm from the voters to win?
Well, Dennis, all the candidates need the enthusiasm. At this point, and until those results are out, there's no telling who the low turnout will benefit. Um, from what I gather, either had a high turnout in Ganta, but Koga also had a high turnout outside of Ganta. So overall, the eventual winner, if I can say, the eventual winner would be the proud beneficiary of the process. But beyond who benefits is the stark reality of voter apathy coming out of Nimba. What is contributing to that? What can not just the NEC, but political parties do? What message is that sending out to our politicians? Do we think the toxicity that characterized the electoral process and the campaign process in Nimba contributed to it? What can be done to turn those trends around is important. I think the people of Nimba ought to recognize what has happened. We did see protests about not voting, abstention from the process, from communities and former candidates. And I think there's a lot to learn from the Nimba process. Let's hear the end of the results and then kind of take a holistic view of what has happened in Nimba. I'm hoping that the NEC will use the opportunity to learn from this process. And one thing I'm proud of, though, is that from the results that I've heard so far, these preliminary results, the number of voided ballots is very, very low, which speaks to the literacy rate in Nimba and the level of civic education that might have gone into the process. So I'm really, really happy about that, because compared to the 2023 elections, the number of voided ballots was so high. And so Nimba has shown to the rest of Liberia that they're a lot more organized than most parts of the country. So that's a positive as well.
So, George, Koga was heavily supported by the sitting government, and there were reports that he was using a lot of cash. So, Edith, who is probably neck to neck with Koga, don't you think she needed the momentum? She needed more
That's exactly the point I was going to make.
the enthusiasm to come out and vote, because she is not giving them money, perhaps, to vote. So if the enthusiasm is not on her side, definitely she's not going to do well, don't you think?
I do think so. But there are other factors as well. There are other factors that might have contributed to people not turning out. Was there intimidation at some level? Was there a lack of hopelessness on the part of the electorate? So there are many factors that one could point to. A careful study of the situation will inform us better. Yes, Edith would have benefited. As a matter of fact, every other candidate would have benefited except for Koga, who had the state and the resources of the state under his support. But every other candidate needed the support of the populace, the mobilized population. And what I saw in Ganta and Sanikwele over the last couple of days prior to the close of the campaign suggested that turnout would have been high. And so what might have happened between the close of campaign and election day needs to be investigated.
Thank you. Jimmy, are you there? All right. Gabriel, you first talk about what the issues they were voting on, right? So from what we see, or from what we heard from people, do you think the issue of tribal balance was more on people's mind, or it had to do with Jimmy? You take that question. This issue of tribal balance or gender balance, or we have a manner, so we need a Gil and all that. Do you think it was heavily on people's mind as they voted?
I think, from my observation in Liberia, um, tribe tribe is if Liberians are very conscious about their tribe, especially what I've seen. The more traditional they are, the more even more tribalistic they may be. Um, Even though it's a weak argument, because voting for one's tribe does not mean voting for somebody who is more capable of doing the job. The idea of voting for one's tribe is like voting for yourself. You want to promote yourself, so you want to promote your tribe. We all understand it, but we have seen it has led to having not the best or mediocre leaders, because you elected them based on their tribe and not their merit. And this is something we have to start teaching civics in elementary school, and people. We need to educate our people about this. It's not going to change us now. Well, we have to educate our people about this to illustrate why this is not the best way to elect a leader, and it is very very pronounced, and it's not only Liberia. Tribe has been a very deciding factor in many African countries. You know, we but with maturity, with communication, bringing the message to people, we will eventually elect maybe Octavius Malley based on his capability, and not it doesn't matter what which town or village he's from, but we're just only looking at his capability. That's it.
Thank you. Gabriel, uh, how do you think the election outcome will reflect the voters' priorities and their concern?
Listen, I said this before, and when
Don't tell me they don't have priorities.
they do, and I've said this before when the list senator passed away, and it gets to a point where you have to not just individually as we do, but the county as a whole has to determine which direction it wants to go into, right? This was, if you want to give that to Prince Johnson, he was the godfather or grandfather of the county, right? Like it or not, he held some kind of grip on the county, right? Now that he's gone, there's been like a void, right? Somebody has to fill that void. But the problem becomes, to whom do we relegate that responsibility to take on that, uh, that role? And for the voters and the elders in the county, this is supposed to be their responsibility. Meaning, we've had a senator who, like it or not, he did a little bit of he did a lot for the county. But the next person we want for this county, you know, where do we want to take this county? What do we want as a county? What do we want for our people collectively? Right now, this election is supposed to be the deciding factor. It's supposed to paint a picture of where Nimba County wants to go. Do we still want to? Do we think we're going to elect? Are they going to elect someone who is going to, you know, through that individual, we're going to determine this is where the county is going by the individual they elect. Now, again, let's go back to who's running. There's Edith, there's Gompu, there's Koga, and then one thing that I always point to is, what have any of these individuals done? Right? So that will be a determining factor in terms of what the voters will get upon after the election. There was no platform, no debate whatsoever. There was nothing whatsoever from any of these candidates. We just voted on them. I think the most important thing we've heard was, Dr. Gompu briefly talking about his plan. Besides that, everything else has been about tribal politics. Tribal politics. There has to be gender balance. There needs to be tribal balance. That was it. That's all we heard. So in this case, to answer your question, I think this is, you know, a loss for the voters, the citizens of Nimba. If you want to say it that way, I know people will beat me up in a comment, but I'm okay with that because I don't think, based on who's in a race right now, whether the voters will have a better outcome regardless of who wins. You know, so I don't think there is a better outcome here. The only thing that I think we all can celebrate here is that it's this election is happening peacefully. There's no fight so far. We haven't heard about that. Like usually you would hear people fighting, and there's all these. It's going on peacefully so far. So I think that's we can all celebrate. But in terms of the direction of the county, in terms of what happens after this, it's yet to be determined. Maybe by 2020 now, or maybe 2 years later, we'll figure it out. What they were able to do.
Thank you, Dr. Malik. From other elections to this one, how you think the country is doing? Are we getting better at this thing? Are we improving on it, or are we going backwards? And okay, we got Dr. To coming in.
Well, I think I would like to agree with Mr. Eastman and Mr. Carter. It's like we need to have a voting population that has critical mind, that is able to make an informed judgment, that will be able to question candidates that are running, what plan they have for them in the future. But it's like, to answer your question, Mr. Host, we haven't reached that level yet.
You think we're getting bad or we're getting better?
I think we're getting bad off right now. And we're getting bad off because there's a new scenario that has just kicked in. And the new scenario here is that when you steal, the people even rally around you. And that's very serious. When they should be rejecting you, they rally around you. And of late, when our president even made a statement that when you see, I mean, it should trickle down, you see. So the question now is, things are even worse right now, you see. And I think for our young democracy, it shouldn't go that way. But again, illiteracy is playing a major role in these things. How many candidates have you seen going to the electorate to tell them, oh, okay, I will have to educate you so that you have an informed mind to judge issue between you and I? How many candidates want to do that? So they keep the people in the dark and use them as an instrument of exploitation. That's what's happening.
Thank you. Dr. To, are you with us? Dr. To, are you there? Okay. He's still having some trouble there. So now, if we, let's say, if the elections are announced today and we see that the either Koga or Edith or Gompu or it's what his name, Blewon, or any of these people win, right? What would a Koga victory mean? What would an Edith Gonglo victory mean? What would a Mark Blewon victory mean?
That's a great question.
Can I come in?
Great question.
Yeah, come in, and then Dr. William will come in.
Well, assuming Koga loses this election, this will be a referendum on His Excellency come 2029.
Yep.
You see, assuming Edith wins this election, there will be a balance of power in the Senate. Then probably is when we will really enjoy democratic interaction and see democracy really moving. But here is my fear.
And why you say so?
Well, I said so for two reasons. I've been wondering, why is it that the government is throwing its weight behind Koga? You see, with all the negative information we've been getting. Why is it that they're throwing their weight behind Koga than any other candidate? I've been wondering. I can't find the answer. So my prediction here is this: there are possibility if Koga wins, the race will not stop there. He may want to take the president pro tempore. I can see them heading that direction as well. You see, because this government is doing everything to get someone on their side. But the question is, why they didn't take someone from the Unity Party?
Thank you. Dr. George, are you there?
I'm here, Dennis. I'm here.
Samuel Koga, Edith Ware, Garrison Yellow, Timba, Mark Blewin, Fangalo, or Dr. Gompo. What would the election of any of these people mean?
So I will confine my comments to the top two contenders, just because they have a clearer picture in terms of their positioning in the current state of affairs. When it comes to Sam Koga represents continuity and stability for not just the office of the vice president, but also uh, he's a critical part of the contending parties in the legislature. And as a senator, the supposition is that he will, by his ascendancy, help to strengthen the vice president's position in the county, which is critical to 2029. Everything being done right now is directly correlated to the quest for 2029. And so Koga represents the stability that the vice president needs in Nimba. Um, Closely connected to that is the fact that there is going to be a runoff if he wins in Nimba as well. And we're going to see how some of the theories that were pronounced during the campaign is going to play out in terms of who replaces Koga if he wins the Senate. Uh, so that's on one hand. For an Edith victory that happens, it will be a shift in terms of the politics, a shift in terms of the vice president's stronghold uh, of the county and his prospects for 2029. And so the government, which maybe this is one of the first time I've seen the government strategically moving in one direction. This is the very first time in the last year and a half that the government has strategically marshaled its resources to ensure that it got what it wanted. Um, and so the efforts behind Koga was pointed, in my mind, is pointed in that direction. Not to bring in Edith, who they believe, and who I thought Nimba Kanda should have gone behind, but who they believe is their best bet. So Edith will represent a shift away from the status quo, and she definitely has the possibility of destabilizing a lot of what is going on, and that could impact 2029 in the interest of against the interest of the vice president. And so Edith was a hard fought battle um, by the vice president to ensure that Koga, not Edith, will win. That's my impression.
Thank you. Gabriel, same question. And assuming that Koga and Edith are the two leading contenders, what would the victory for each of them mean?
Same here.
Or either one of them?
I want to confine my answers to the top two as well, because I think there's too many people in the race. I would have hoped Dr. Gompo would have made it far, but you know what? It is what it is. So I think if you know either wins, as everybody keeps saying, even though I don't agree with it, there's going to be some kind of a gender balance within the Senate, and I think it'll, to an extent, yes, elevate the representation of women in the Senate as well, which, as we always like to say, gives hope to young girls in the country. That they too can partake in our politics, specifically dominated by men. So we can look at that side of it, right? On the side of Koga, I think this is something we've talked about here. I think this is just, as I said before, a long game by the United Party to they're not looking at election right now. They're looking at 2029 in terms of what his win in the for 2029 presidential election, because that will mean a little bit of grip on the voters in that county. But in terms of, if we want to look at it from an economic standpoint, in terms of what it means for the people of Nimba, as I said earlier, I don't think there's nothing really tangible that you can see, or that based on their history, that you can point to say, okay, this individual has the propensity or the ability to transform this county for the people of Nimba. So for United Party, I think it's a long game. For Edith, I think something I'm hoping forward to. This will be a good win for the women in Liberia, and most importantly, young girls to aspire to. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to be part of the conversation, the number is on the screen, 605-313-6004. The code is 791403#. Jimmy, who you think will win this election? I don't know if there are some exit polls or
yeah. I was observing and listening. It is almost clear that Koga has won. And I say that because several polls had him the front runner, and not just the front runner, but way above the rest of the crowd. And it's not surprising either, because this is the he was the regime candidate, if you will. And where he had powerful people like the vice president and all campaigning for him. And the way sentiments go in Nimba, he being of the Gio descent, he will be favored by many because of his affiliation. Now, this is not the first time Ida Gongo has contested or has participated in politics. She's been around. And she has not. I haven't seen her win one of these tightly contested elections yet. But she has been in government and has been given positions of responsibility. But when it comes to the popularity, where you have to win people's vote in Nimba, she has always come up short in these tightly contested. So it's not surprising that Koga, if you know his role, Koga's role in this representative debacle, where you had the majority bloc and the minority bloc. He's shown where he is, where his loyalty lies, and so people he will garner a lot of support from that bloc that favors removing Kofa and supplanting Kun. So he's shown where his loyalty is. So the fact that he's in the full run and with all this kind of support he's getting is not surprising, not at all.
Thank you. So my next question is: if Koga wins, will it normalize this idea of ethnic balance? Will ethnic balance now become the norm in Nimba County? Gabriel.
And Dennis, another great question. This is something I think. Sorry, I forgot his name. The other panelists talked about here that as a country that emerged from war, 22 years ago, This is something we should have gotten away from. This is like our democracy should have. I'm not saying leapfrog, but there should have been a little bit of evolution from this tribal politics that we've held on to for dear life, as if this is, you know, uh, this is who we are. But again, evidently, this is who we are. But I think at this point we should have evolved from this thing, you know.
Yeah, but
And
Gabriel,
yes,
let's look at, if you look at it positively, will that give room to other ethnic groups like the Kran, like the Mandingo, like the Bui and Lolu and Doru? Would that, like the Pele that are also in there? So let's say if
no,
we have a Kran person running, we'll say, okay, we have had Gio, let's have Kran, or let's have Bui. Would that happen?
on unless you make that a constitutional or some kind of law where you basically, I think somebody said this on the previous show, where you basically rotate power amongst the tribe. If not, we cannot automatically assume that because this gentleman being elected, he's Gio. The next election, it will be fair to give it to a minor person or a crown person. It doesn't work like that. Even if we wanted to, look what just happened this election, where the current administration just single-handedly came in and used cash violence to take this election, because that's exactly what's happening. They care less about that, right? So hypothetically, let's say next election rolls around and there's a minor person in the race, in the lead. What do you think is going to happen? So it doesn't. I think we should have evolved from this whole tribal politics and see, at least, uh, you know, some little bit of inkling of an emerging democracy that is inclusive, instead of playing this whole tribal politics that we've been playing since 1847.
Let me take our first caller. Call out your name and where you calling from.
All right, thank you, Mr. God. This is Elvis calling from Minnesota. Hello to you and hello to the panelists. Look, I think we have to realize that, not even realize, but we have to ask ourselves the question. I think everybody has been asking that question. What part does tradition and tribal sentiments have to play in our politics? And this is a case in point that I hate to say, but politically we're still primitive people. And we practice politics on a primitive level. When you're talking about somebody who is, from another ethnic group, and you're telling them that they can't be, a political, a senator, because you have to have balance. That is just unfair, because as we know, Jeremiah Cole and Prince Johnson was in the Senate together. Although his father is from Sino, but he considered himself to be Gil from the Gil side. We had both of them in the Senate together. I'm not sure what Thomas group he is. I don't know if he's Don
It's
or
Gil.
mine.
It's Gil.
Yeah, so Thomas Groupie was there with Prince Johnson. That wasn't balanced. So this whole notion that it should be balanced, it hasn't been fair to the minor people for a long time. And it was just
how about the Mandingo and the Crown? Has it been fair to them?
Of course not, but we're not even going to go to that level, because we know the sentiments from the war and all of that, so we're not even going to go there. But I just want to say that this is an embarrassment to the great people of Nimba. I think, for the most part, they should be more sophisticated in this primitive way of thinking. You have somebody like a Dr. Gompo in there, although he's a Ghana man, but way more qualified than Koga. Edith Gongo Ware has served. She's a respectable woman. Senator would do a better job. But again, for some of us, when we say these things, it's all about, it's like we have 15 different small countries in our country that we call counties, because these little counties, they belong to specific tribes. In these tribes, you know yourself on Florida, you know the people dominate Sino County. The Sapo people there have been crying for inclusion. The Gribo people who are minority been crying for inclusion. So the majority tribe in most of these counties, they dominate the political space. And this is what is really holding our country backwards, because if you can't have political agency based because you have a minority ethnic group, then you're not putting your best and brightest forward. So for Nimba, that is so sophisticated and developed and has a lot of intellectuals coming from that county, to be doing this on a tribal sentiment, it's embarrassing, and we need to take a reflection and realize that women have a place in our politics. All ethnic group that consists of the county of Nimba should have a place in their politics because they contribute tremendously to the economic, prosperity of that county. So I'm just disappointed tonight, and I think what's going on is a signal of more things to come in other counties. But thank you for taking my call.
Thank
I'll
you.
leave it there.
Thank you. We have one of our callers drop. But let me go to Josh. Has to a Koga victory. This whole idea, if Koga wins, it means we are saying, hey, we need tribal balance. I'm not even sure. Will it be because of ethnic balance, or is it because the government or the executive branch has put a weight behind Koga? What
Then
will, yeah.
at the end of the day, there has to be a definition by the people of Nimba on what that means. What does ethnic balance mean? Well, someone will argue the results, if Koga wins, is a definition of what ethnic balance means. But from a broader perspective, the previous caller alluded to that, is that instead of putting ethnicity beyond qualification, leaders of Nimba need to come together and tap into the resources, leverage the resources they have, the quality they have. Nimba is one of the most sophisticated counties outside of Masterado. And staying focused on ethnicity as a basis for leadership in the county is simply going to continue to undermine the county. Now, it's true that across the country, ethnicity is a major factor. It's a major factor. I mean, whether it's in Grand Jita, Bumi, Lofa, ethnicity is a major factor. But we have to come to the point, and I say we as a population have to come to the point, get our electorates to the point where we're talking quality, we're talking programs, we're talking vision as against our ethnicities, because that's something we can't be devoid of. Our politics will not be devoid of it anytime soon, but we have to make deliberate efforts to overcome those because it's holding us back. It's holding us back.
Thank you. Thank you. But will this offer some hope for the smaller ethnic groups? But before you answer that, let me bring in Mr. Michael Padmo. Mr. Padmo, you're live.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I've been observing. You can hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I've been observing the election results as they come in. I agree with most of what the panelists have said for the most part. I do appreciate that a couple of people have pointed out that this whole tribal balance thing did not become a focal point until it seemed like it was an advantage for several politicians to try to come in, and use it to their benefits. When the present senator of Nimba, who is a Maname, when he ran, Samuel Koga ran against him very strongly and came in second, almost defeated him. He didn't respect the balance then. But most importantly, I believe that in order for us to continue to move our country forward, we have to be able to find a way to almost separate tradition from politics. I think every time we allow tradition to be manipulated by politicians, we find ourselves in this situation, and it does nothing but hold us back, because the reason why politicians are effective is because when you hold them not to the tribe they're from, but instead the work they've done. And when we insert tradition into this, we do not hold people accountable. All we do is We just hold where they were born, or the tribe they speak, and that will just continue to hold us back. But we will continue to watch and see what happens. We're continuing to watch the results. So don't even ask me who I think is going to win right now. I've listened to both sides. Both sides feel very confident. I don't know. I cannot tell if it's just an election political ploy, or if it is real. But both sides are claiming victory. We're hopeful that the elections commission will come out sooner rather than later and give us some official results, so that we can start to move past this.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Well, these are all the colors we have. What does the future hold? Let's say if Koga loses, he's still representative. Loses, what do you think her next move will be? Because one of the criticism against her in this election was, hey, every time you lose, you go to America, you leave us here. Jimmy, so what do you think Edith's going to do if she's not successful in this one?
That is something significant. I think it is significant because if you want to earn the people's trust and confidence, you have to be in the trenches with them. I don't fault her for leaving, but at the same time, to get the people to trust her, to believe in her, she has to be down there with them more often. But at the same time, the candidacy of Representative Koga, it only promises to uplift this regime, this administration, as we have seen with the debacle in the representative. So we will just see more of the same. He will be building his base with the party, with the two parties, the MDR and the Unity Party. He will be getting more and more support from them, and become more powerful. We have seen the politics in Liberian politics. If you
Let me hold your thought there. Let me bring in one more caller.
Okay,
Mr. McDonald Kreku, go ahead. You're live. Hello, caller. Your name and where you calling? Where you calling from?
Yes. Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Okay, McDonald calling from New Jersey.
Go ahead, Mr. Kreku.
Yes. Okay. What if I say this way? This is just my thought. I think the tribal politics, it is a strategy by the Unity Party, and I'm intentional to say this, to control the three position in the upper house. Because if you look at it, the VP is the president pro tempore, Unity Party. Now, the person that is currently the sitting senator, he's also a Unity Party. And now they feel Gil guy, who is also going to be, if he wins, will be the senator and also a Unity Party. So it's just a clever strategy by that group, Unity Party, to make sure that they control the two senator seats, and as well as they already have the Senate Pro Tem. That's my thought.
That's a clever one. Thank you. Jimmy,
yeah. So what we see with winning, Koga winning, we'll just see him gaining more power and authority amongst the MDR and the Unity Party. Maybe Edith would have brought some new, fresh blood to the Senate, but the idea is, did she stand a chance of winning? I like the fact that she represents Liberian women. She's an astute lady, and she's also one of my colleagues, Gongo sister. So she brought a lot to the table. She brought representation from the Mano tribe, but at the same time, the way the politics is in Liberia, she will have to ride the ruling party ticket before she wins, unless she will have to go, do Dara Dillon and go directly against the ruling head of the government and make remarks that will gain her favor from the Liberian people. And that is a challenge. That is a difficult thing to do. You have to know how to do it. So more Koga, more Unity Party, more the MDR.
All right, we have another caller on the line, and this one support Dr. Gompu. That's Dr. Clarence Gono. Dr. Gono, let me hear your thoughts on the elections currently that ended in Nimba County.
Okay, as far as we're concerned, the election went well, but we don't have official report. We don't have official report yet for election commissioner.
Right.
So we're still waiting.
And how is Dr. Gompu doing from your war room?
He's doing fine. He's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
But the way the election went, right? It wasn't the government against opponents. All other people that are in the race. So that was the issue. So it was like a one-sided thing, a one-sided election, where in the national government is going against all political parties in the race.
So do you think it was going to be a clever strategy if the opposition have united against the government?
Opposition parties have their own interest.
Okay.
So the interest of one political party is different from that of the other. So it was kind of strange. So it would have been very difficult because the personal ambition of people kind of offset everything. Somebody, for instance, if you are told, Edith, what do you mesh with? Or let's say Gompo. She would say no. Or if you are asked, let's say Garrison Yulu, what do you mesh with Gompo? He would say no. So it's almost like personal ambition. Yeah, so if personal ambition comes in, it makes it very difficult for people to achieve certain objectives. But I still feel that Gompo is the best candidate so far.
Why is that? Why is that?
Who have represented Nimba County.
This issue of ethnic balance, that was preached and promoted by the vice president who supported Mr. Kogo and also supported.
The last time I studied international relations in 1997, 96, I think I was told that ethnicity is one of the things that is kind of delaying progress in Africa. So you, as a student of politics or international relations, you should never take to ethnicity. So I don't believe in ethnicity. For instance, you see, so it means I don't have time for ethnicity at all. What I want.
But you think the voters were considering that in electing the next senator?
What do you mean?
Do we have a lot of voters voting based on ethnicity, just like the Koga campaign preached? Even the superintendent of the county said, "Hey, tribal balance is more important than gender balance."
Yeah, that's the view of the superintendent. That's not my view. That's her view. But I don't view politics in that sense. But what I want people to do is to get away from ethnicity, to get away from tribal politics, which is not good for development. People should take to, say, looking at what the person is bringing on the table, the qualification of the person, the experience of the person,
I agree.
what the person can do to move the country forward. So if you look at, because this man or this person speaks my tribe, it makes it very difficult for development. So I personally don't like that.
Thank you, Dr. Gono. I too don't like it, but do you think the Nimba people were voting on that line?
It appears that way. For instance, but okay, you want to say they were voting on ethnicity,
Yeah.
I would say, okay, in that case, why is it that Gombu, a very qualified person who knows how to balance the budget of Liberia, presented himself, and he's a damn person, then why is it that they didn't vote for him? It was, just basing their votes on the ethnicity. They will say, okay, now, of all the other damn people in the race, this is a very qualified damn person. We should let him, go on to have the most qualified damn person to represent us. But it wasn't that. It was based on interest, the interest of political parties. For instance, the interest of the Unity Party. So because the Gompu is not a Unity Party, so it's like, okay, we can't, support him because it's not a Unity Party. So we mediate the interest of political party. And then they want to propagate their message based on that, and based on like Koga, okay, he's a down person, and then that should be the travel balance and all of that. But I don't really believe in that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Gona.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Let's wrap it up. But before we do that, Dr. Williams, you have any comment before we wrap it up?
Well, I just wanted to pose a question to Dr. Gono. Is he from Nimba?
Yeah, he's from Nimba. He's from the Man tribe, like my ethnic group, like Edith.
Yeah, so there is, if and this is a supposition, if Koga wins, there's going to be an opportunity for the people of Nimba to test out, their progress at helping to change the mind of how Nimbayans should vote. There will be another by-election if Koga wins. And in that instance, you can now pursue a process where you're preaching quality over ethnicity. There are about 6 different tribes in Nimba, 7 tribes in Nimba. Would there be opportunities like Dennis suggested initially with the Madingos, the Crowns, or the Gwees be given an opportunity to contest those elections? Can the people of Nimba rally around the minorities in the county to replace Koga if Koga wins? And so there's an opportunity that will be presented with a Koga victory for a rerun of elections in district number 5, whether it's 5 or 7. I think 5, yeah, because ability is from 7. For the people of Nimba to correct the errors. It has to be a collective effort. It can't be left to the United Party to decide when and how they're going to pursue balance in the county. It has to be a county-wide effort, and so that would be an opportunity for the people of Nimba to correct, in quotation marks, correct whatever mistakes they might have made as a result of these elections.
What if the United Party Jackson representative race again and do the same thing they did in Nimba to support a candidate?
And so William Jala is saying, the government wouldn't sit back and forth his hand, when they have a stake in Nimba. So the government will do everything to support their candidate so that we can, every president wants to control everything. So that's what the Unity Party is doing. But gentlemen, I want to say thank you for tonight. We'll go around the room for your closing comments. We'll go through from Dr. Male, Jimmy, George, and then Gabriel will close it. Dr. Male, you're closing.
Yes, I think it was a good conversation. I want to thank my fellow co-panelists and the host for inviting us. But least we forget, ethnic politics has permeated our society since 1985. And it has continued to take a very different trend nowadays. So I don't see how it is really going to go away so soon. I don't see it.
Dr. Malen, 1985, the unofficial result gave it to Jackson Doe, the Dan. And so I don't think I don't think people voted on ethnic lines.
No, what I'm saying, that was the modernization of our politics for the first time.
Go ahead.
Yes. So it's like Prince Johnson getting into the picture after the war, beating the drum that he was a supporter of his people. We can also learn from the Hutus and the Hittites
Tutsi.
The Tutsis. You see, we can learn from them. So it's like this tribal politics is all over the place. But I think illiteracy is also an undertone here too. Because if I will come and talk to you and you are not even concerned about what am I going to do for you, like when the hosts were even asking what was some of the issue discussed in our place, it's like no issue. You see, so the people vote when they know you, they vote for you when you are popular, they go against you when you are even overeducated. You see, and so it's a serious issue, and it's going to go for a very long time.
Thank you, Jimmy. You're closing.
Yes, I believe that our people are smart. They may not have, the highest standard of education in the world, but they have common sense. They know they know what's good for them, and because they know that politicians say one thing and do another, they don't have much faith in what politicians will do for them. So what they look at is what I can get right away. I mean, this thing has been discussed ad nauseum. The idea is let me get what I can get, because none of them will do anything they say they're going to do. So at the end of the day, if a politician wants to win the people, he has to just share money around, and that's how he will win. If anybody was going to defeat Koga in this election, you would have to have more money than the incumbent or the people that support him. Now, if you had enough money to go around to spread money to all the people, all the communities, all the districts, all the polls, yes, then you would have had a chance, because the people, they would not be believing in so much what you would do, but they would know what you have given them, and that will influence their vote. So today, it's not belly driven. It's just that our politicians are not doing anything different. So I might as well get what I can. So it's really common logic.
Thank you. Join me tomorrow. I will be hosting Reverend Dr. Francis O. Tabla. He's the senior pastor at the Ebenezer Community Church. This man has a mega church. So we want to learn from him how to build, grow, and maintain a mega church in America and the world. He's going to tell us how he did it to have such a huge, they are sitting on acres and acres of land with millions and millions of dollar property. So we want to see how he was able to do that. That's coming up tomorrow, 4 p.m. right here on Focus on Liberia. Then on Sunday, we're going to be talking faith. There are some highly debated topics in Islam, including Sharia law, polygamy, the role of women, human rights, blasphemy, jihad, terrorism, apostasy, meaning if you leave Islam, what happens to you? Sunni and Shia, then the Islamic Caliphate, that state. My guest will be Imam Jenika Toure and the Islamic scholar Abu Bakr Dukle. They will be right here on Sunday, 7 p.m. to sit with me. Please tune in. Here, we want to drive our country towards nation building, towards a vibrant country. So one of the things we need to do is to be tolerant and learn about each other so that we can respect the different groupings in our country. Dr. William, you're closing, sir.
Well, Dennis, thanks. And thanks to the panelists. Thanks to our guests for coming. In closing, I believe every election presents opportunities for not just the electorate, but also for those who operate these elections to learn from. I'm hoping that the Nimba elections will present its own opportunities, and that the NEC will learn to perfect its operations as it goes. So the people of Nimba, whatever the results are, we're hoping that they truly represent what the people of Nimba want, and that it will help situate Nimba among the counties making up Liberia in ways that will help move the country forward. As it stands, the country is in need of leadership, and we think every decision we make going forward up to represent not just the county, but we should be looking for leaders who can represent the country at the same time. And so whether it's a senator or representative coming out of Nimba County or Grand Crew or Bummy County, that should be someone who's capable of ably representing Liberia and all Liberians. Like all speakers have said, the emphasis should now be more about quality and productivity than ethnicity. That's a campaign that we all have to, get on board on and begin to work on it in whichever ways we can. If not, we'll continue to have these conversations endlessly, and so thank you again, and we're looking forward to seeing what the results look like tomorrow.
Thank you. Gabriel, you have the last word.
Dennis, thank you again for having me here, and thank you to all the other panelists. I will be very brief. I think just 2 points quickly. I think this election is an opportunity for the opposition comes 2029. And the reason why I say that, because you see exactly what you're going to go up against comes 2029, how this regime is going to play come 2029. So they've given you their playbook of how things is going to pan out in 2029. So it's up to you now to take away what you want to do with it and strategize for the next 4 years or 5 years to have a better planning place. Because that's is just what happened in Nimba is exactly what's going to happen comes 2029. So you have your playbook in front of you. Do what you want to do with it. To the people of Nimba, as I said, I want to congratulate you for having a peaceful election. To the top 2 candidates, whatever comes out, hopefully you can represent the people better over the the terms of your candidacy. But I think in this election, if I want to be fair, I think the people of Nimba, this is a loose case here because, again, I don't want to be biased. I think the candidate who had a better platform, who I think could have gone a lot further, could have done a lot.
We don't know the results yet.
He's far out. Dr. Gompo is far out, so I don't think he's even has a chance to be there. But that was the individual I was supporting. But regardless of that, I think the people of Nimba, did a good job here by having a peaceful election, and we're waiting to see the outcome. But I think, again, as I said, to the opposition, you have seen the playbook. Don't come here 2029 and say, we didn't know this government was going to do that. They have shown you the hands of cards, what they're going to do. You take what you want to do with it and prepare yourself for 2029, because this is going to be worse than what they did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. And to the people of Nimba, on behalf of all of us, we say, Ninche, Imama, Pomsuo, Sekanyo. On that note, we close with our song that says, we are all Liberians. Have a good night and God bless you.
We are Liberians.